There are so many different ways that you can make chili, from a classic beef chili to this amazing white chicken chili recipe that I'm gonna share with you today. It's an easy one-pot meal filled with veggies, shredded chicken, white beans, and savory spices, and it will certainly warm you up on a cold day. The great thing about this recipe is that the chili itself is completely dairy-free, though I do sprinkle a little bit of cheese on at the end, but that's entirely up to you. So let me show you how to make it. Before we dive into the recipe, let's talk about white beans and which variety to grab at the market. The three most popular white beans are Great Northern beans, cannellini beans, and navy beans. All three work just fine, but they're slightly different in terms of size, texture, and flavor. Cannellini beans are the largest of the bunch, followed by Great Northern beans, which are what I'm using today, and then navy beans are the smallest. I've got more details about each of these varieties on the full recipe blog post, but long story short, they all work great in today's recipe, so you can grab what's on sale or what's available to you. You'll need two 15-ounce cans of beans for this recipe, which is about 3.5 cups of cooked beans. Drain the beans in a colander, and sometimes you have to get in there with a spoon to get them out because they do get a little sticky and starchy and cling to the inside of the can. But that's also why it's important to give them a thorough rinse to get all of that starch off. Now, as I mentioned at the beginning, this version of white chicken chili is completely dairy-free, but there is a sneaky way to give the chili a slightly creamy texture, and that's by blending some of the beans. So take 1 cup of the white beans and add it to a food processor. If you have an immersion blender, you could also use that. Then add 1 cup from the 4 cups of chicken stock you need for this recipe and blend it until it's smooth. This takes advantage of that starchiness without the need for dairy, and it maintains more of that classic chili texture, which is a win-win. And once this is blended, just set it aside for now. All right, on to the chicken. You have a few options when it comes to the chicken for this recipe. You can use either a store-bought rotisserie chicken, a homemade whole roasted chicken, or you can cook and shred chicken breasts. I have a separate recipe on my website if you'd like to make shredded chicken from chicken breasts, but today I'm taking the easy route and using this rotisserie chicken that I had in my fridge. You'll need 4 cups of shredded chicken, and if you're using a rotisserie chicken, just remove the skin and then use your fingers to shred the meat into bite-sized chunks. You could also use 2 forks to shred the chicken, but I think fingers are much more efficient. If your chicken is large, you might only need to use the chicken breast meat, but if it's on the smaller side, you'll probably use up all of the meat on the bird. And once that's done, set the chicken aside. There's just a couple of veggies that we need to prep for this recipe, and that includes dicing 1 onion. I'm quite proud of myself that I actually remembered to put the onion in the fridge this morning, so there's not a lot of tears today. I also did some research on some of your previous tips to prevent onion tears, and I'm sad to report that lighting candles, chewing gum, and holding some bread in your mouth are pretty much widely debunked. But using sharp knives, wearing goggles, and chilling the onion in the fridge, which is what I did today, all do seem to work. So once you've got your onion all diced up with as few tears as possible, add that to a bowl and set it aside. Next, you'll want to slice and dice 1 bell pepper. You can use any color bell pepper here, though I kind of like how the green bell pepper and the yellow corn look together in the final chili. It just looks bright and fresh, which is always a welcome contrast to cold and dreary days. So once that's all diced up, just add it to your bowl with the onion. And lastly, you'll de-seed and finely dice 1 jalapeno pepper. Just slice the jalapeno pepper in half, use a small spoon to remove the seeds and white pith, and then dice it up. The jalapeno pepper adds great flavor to this recipe, but if you're worried about spice or heat, you don't need to be. I promise you that this isn't an overly spicy chili, it's just delicious and warming and flavorful. My classic chili recipe, on the other hand, definitely has more heat than this one. So once all the veggies are chopped up, take them over to your stove and add a couple of tablespoons of olive oil to a large pot on medium-high heat. Add the onions, bell pepper, and jalapeno pepper and saute these for about 4 to 5 minutes or until they've softened a bit. Next, you'll add 4 minced garlic cloves and the spices, which includes 2 teaspoons of ground cumin, 1 teaspoon of ground coriander, half a teaspoon of chili powder, half a teaspoon of dried oregano, and half a teaspoon of salt. Stir these for another minute just to toast the spices, then add the remaining 3 cups of chicken stock and the pureed white bean mixture that we blended at the very beginning. Give this a stir and then simmer it uncovered for 15 minutes to let all those spices and flavors meld together. While the chili is simmering, you can quickly chop up a 1/4 cup of fresh cilantro. This is a bit more than a 1/4 cup, but that's fine because I always like to chop a little bit extra to use for garnish on the individual bowls at the end. So now that the chili has simmered for 15 minutes, you can add the 4 cups of shredded chicken, the remaining white beans, 1 cup of fresh or frozen corn, 4 ounces of diced green chilies, and the 1/4 cup of chopped cilantro. Give that a stir to mix everything together and then simmer it for another few minutes until it's all warmed through. To finish off the chili, add a tablespoon of fresh lime juice for a punch of bright flavor. Give it one last stir and get ready to serve it up. There's really nothing like a big warm pot of chili to cure those winter blues, and I've gotta say that this white chicken chili is by far one of my favorite versions of chili. It's perfectly chunky, naturally creamy, and hearty without being heavy. Scoop a serving of the chili into a bowl, and now here comes the fun part, which is the toppings. If you'd like, you can add a sprinkle of cheddar cheese, a few extra slices of jalapeno pepper, a small handful of diced avocado, and I do like diced avocado rather than sliced avocado on top of chili because it's just bite-sized, and of course an extra sprinkle of cilantro because you can never add enough. I hope you guys enjoyed this white chicken chili recipe, and if you did, make sure to give it a thumbs up, share it with your family and friends, and I will see you again in the next video.